Am I live? You're hearing me? Alright, so today we're going to be looking at some questions. Well, one for today from past paper 2005. It was requested by a student. So I'm going to do question 4, which is a program. Alright, I'm wondering if I should give some people some time to log on. Let me give them about 2 more minutes before I start.
Shopping online and getting your goods shipped to you right in Jamaica is www.shippingbill.com to sign up for your free account. After signing up, you will receive an activation email. Click on the Activate My Account button to get full access to all features and services, as well as your personal shipping bill execution address. Remember to use this address when making all your online purchases. When your packages arrive at your shipping bill address, it will be prepared for shipping to Jamaica, where you can collect at our local store. If you would like to get an estimated cost for your package to ship to Jamaica, visit our website and use our online package. For easy processing and to avoid paying additional customs clearance charges, ensure to log into your digital account and pre-alert us all your packages. Download or shipping bill Android app to your mobile device from the Play Store for easy access to shipping estimates or pre-alerting service, real-time package tracking, features, or live chat, and so much more. So you, your family, and friends can stock up your favorite online stores and benefit from using your new digital account. Shipping that online shipping.
Julie and Nikisha, are you still there? Okay, Julie. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start. I don't see anybody else. I'll start. I'll save the live and allow other persons to have access to it afterwards. All right, and tell me, are you hearing echo? Are you hearing my voice echoing, or it's just one voice, straight voice you're hearing? Oh, Julie, you're not alone. My students are scared about that one as well. They are pretty much scared because, you get a limited amount of time to type, and if you're not able to type a minimum of 35 words within a minute, you're in trouble. But if you practice your speed typing, you should be good to go. Okay, Nikisha, good. All right, so we're going to be looking at 2005. I can't remember which subscriber had asked me to do 2005. I must warn you though, when I look back at this paper, it's pretty easy, and it's not this easy anymore. These days when CXC write their paper, they don't write it as easy as how they used to write it back then. Right? You get much more to do in the allocated time that is there right now. So this is 25 minutes. If they should give you this, they wouldn't give you 25 minutes anymore. These days they would probably give you maybe 20 minutes to complete this. I too, Julie, wish it was this easy, but it's no longer as easy as this. But looking at this paper, it says, on a full sheet of A4 paper, folded once, display the program as shown. Alright, so we're going to end up with 2 folded page if you're going to do it separate. Back then they used to print it. So if it was going to be printed now, it would be printed back and front. So you would end up with one paper folded in 2, which is what they want you to do, fold it once, right? And in the middle, when you open it, you'll see pages 2 and 3. And when you turn the back of the page, you will see pages 4 and 1. All right, so we're going to start off with pages 2 and 3. So the first thing we're going to do is to change the whole setting to 2-page column setting, because we want to fold the page once. We're going to turn it into a 2-page column setting. Also, we are going to change the landscape to the orientation to landscape. All right, and it will look pretty much more like a, let me close that. It will look pretty much like a program when you change it to landscape. All right, so we're going to go into the layout tab, and this has to do with the version that you use. So if you want to change the column setting in Microsoft Word, for me, I would go to the layout tab, and then under the column option, I would select the drop down arrow and then select more columns. Then I would select 2 column, and if you want to ensure that the paper is folded evenly, you could use the line between to mark it for you. And then you'll leave the option in apply to whole document, since both pages will be looking the same. So you'll leave the option that says apply to whole document there, and then select OK. Then you're going to go under the orientation section and change it to landscape. You won't see it now because my screen is split into 2, so you won't see the full page and what it would actually look like. But I'm sure you know what orientation normally look like. The landscape orientation, that is. So regular setting would be portrait, and when it is turned sideways, that's landscape. Alright. Also, we want to change it to Times New Roman and size 12, and wherever it says we are to use word art and clip art, well, back then they used to use clip art. These days we don't have clip art in our recent version. our modern version doesn't carry clip art, so we have to go online and get pictures, or if we have pictures on the computer, we could use pictures from the computer. So if you notice right below the 2 pages, it says that you have to insert appropriate clip art, which we're going to be using online pictures. And it says you have to use word art, right? And it also says that you have to border page with appropriate graphic. One of the things we normally encourage you to do is to scan through the paper to see what is expected of you. So while you are scanning through now, you'll be playing it in your mind as to what it is you are going to do and how to get certain parts of the document itself done. All right, Julie and Nikisha. All right, Nikisha, I see your response. All right, good. So we're going to change it to Times New Roman and size 12 for now, where we need to put word art and clip art. We're going to do that as well. All right, so we're going to set up our page. We can set it for single line spacing for now, where it is telling us to put it in double line spacing. We can do that afterwards. All right, so you know where to go to get that done. You go into paragraph grouping, where you see line spacing, you'll change it from multiple to single, and where you see before and after under spacing, you will ensure that those two are 0. Then you click on OK. All right, Julie. All right, and we will notice that we have pages 2 and 3 to do, and then 4 and 1. So it is not done in the order in which we think it would be done, except for 2 and 3, because we know 2 and 3 would be going together, but on the same page. All right, so we have to scroll through and see what should be on page 2 and what should be on page 3, and put those information on those pages. All right, so we already set the column setting into 2 with line between, right? So we're going to look for the page that has the information that should be on page 2, because as outlined here, you have to do page 2 first, then page 3 on that same page. And then you're going to have a new page with page 4 and page 1. All right, so we will start with page 2. So the first page we're going to do is page 2. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm scrolling too fast. All right, so down the bottom here, you're seeing page 2. So this is what they want on page 2. So on page 2, they want you to have program, all centered, processional, centered, prayer, exchange of vows, and if you notice, exchange of rings is inside of a balloon, and an arrow is pointing underneath exchange of vows. So it wants you to put exchange of rings right underneath exchange of vows. Then you'll have introduction of Mr. and Mrs. So that would have to be on page 2 as indicated. Now I notice program and processional is centered, or should be centered, but there's nothing beside prayer and exchange of vows, as well as introduction of Mr. and Mrs. There's nothing to say if you should center those as well or not, but what I would do is just center everything on that page and tell me if you agree as well. All right, so I'm going to change it to Times New Roman, size 12, and I'm going to type the information in caps. If you notice, program, processional, prayer, exchange of vows, exchange of rings, introduction of Mr. and Mrs. All of them are in all caps. So I'm going to turn on my caps lock button and type everything in all caps. I'm not sure if you're typing with me, Julie and Nikisha, or you're just watching and we'll try it afterwards. But just let me know. Alright, so we can space these out a bit. And it said that we're to center all, so we're going to highlight it and center it. I would increase the size since that's the only thing that is going to be on that side of the page. So I would increase the size, make it much bigger. I would also choose a different font since it is a wedding program. You want to use something that is, you know, fancy. I'm not sure. What do you think about this font? Okay, Nikisha and Julie. Alright, so we can click on that, right? And leave that on page 2. And with the interest of time, you have to go as quickly as possible, right? Because you want to finish within the time allocated. Alright, so we'll ensure that the cursor is below what we just typed because we need to break the column to get over to the other side of the column. So if you're not below the cursor, that is, if it is not below what you typed, that piece of information or wherever the cursor is at the time you break the column, it will go over the other side of the column as well, which you don't like. Oh, you don't like the font? Alright, let me change it. Which one of these fonts look more wedding-like? We could also change the color. I don't know. What do you think? We could change the color. Gold. Is this gold? It looks gold to me. Alright, so we will work with this then. Alright, so press enter to ensure that the cursor is below and we can center the page, the information more on that page. I don't know, push it down some more or let it stay there. It's all centered to me. So I'm going to press enter, and in order for me to get over the other side of the column now to type page 3 information, I am going to have to go back to layout, back to columns, and look for break. Whenever my screen is split into 2, I can't see some of the things. Alright, I'm seeing break now, so I'm going to click on the drop down arrow for break and then click on column break. And you should see the column breaking and now you're over the side that the page 3 information should be on. So I'm going to scroll through to see what